They look a lot alike, right? This one has a gauge, this one doesn't. This is going to be the one that you're going to use on pretty much everything. This is rated as 3.75 gallons of water. So if you can't put it out with less than a 5-gallon bucket, this isn't going to do it. If somebody spills a flammable liquid, it ignites. If it's bigger than 4 foot by 10 foot and a 1/4 inch deep, this isn't going to do it. So just kind of recognize the limitations of these. This one is a powder extinguisher. It's got about 10 pounds of powder in it, and it's going to last for about 15 seconds. The way that this one extinguishes fires, and it's rated for wood, liquids, and energized electrical, the way that this one extinguishes fire is it coats them. It coats the fires in this powder that flows like a liquid, and then it forms a crust with the heat, and it cuts off the vapors of the fire. That's the way that this one extinguishes. It doesn't actually cool the fuel package. It coats it and suppresses the vapors. The acronym to remember for this is PASS. Pull, aim, squeeze, and sweep. So the first thing to do in PASS is P. Pull the pin. So you're going to pull the pin. That's this little thing right here. You're going to grab this fire extinguisher like this, and you're going to pinch this handle, and this pin's not going to want to move. That's because you're pinching it with the handle. You have to grab it just by the bottom piece, and the handle, this pin will pull out. It'll break this little tab, and it'll pull out. If you can't get it to break the tab, twist it. By rolling it, you get some mechanical advantage, and it breaks this plastic a little easier. It'll pull out. The next thing in PASS is A. A for aim. Pull the hose off, aim it at the base of the fire. Aim it at what's burning. Because we suppress the fire by covering it with a powder and forming a crust, we can't aim it at the flames, we have to aim it at the fuel that's actually burning. So to do that, point it at the base. Just simple as that. We always recommend turn to the side, give it a squirt just to make sure that it's working. If this doesn't work, there's nothing left for you to do except for get outside and call 911. So now you've aimed it at the base of the fire, your extinguisher works, you're going to approach the fire, you're going to squeeze the handle, which is going to discharge powder, and you're going to sweep side to side at the base of the fire. Your goal is to cover the fuel package with the powder. The powder that's in this is a respiratory irritant, and it is corrosive, and it's a nightmare to clean up. So just, if you ever have to use one, expect to cough and hack, and whoever has to clean it up needs respiratory protection. So some sort of air purifying respirator or a N95 or some sort of mask to block out the dust from this. These are nasty. So never turn your back on a fire. Back away from the fire, keeping the thing pointed at it. You never know when it's going to flare back up. That is one of the downsides of these, is that is possible. So just back away, keeping your eyes on the fire, call 911. We'll come check it out, verify that it's out, so that it didn't get into the walls or extend anywhere, and then we'll be done. So this one is a specialty item. This is what's called a CO2 extinguisher. So the way this one works is very similar. Pull the pin, aim the cone, don't touch the plastic part of the cone. Super important with this. It's going to get incredibly cold. If you touch it with bare hands, it will frostbite your hands to the cone. Don't touch the cone. Lift it up, point it at the fire, squeeze. And it's going to do the noise, and it's going to come out, and it's going to look like a gas. The way that this one works is twofold. This one's going to cool the fuel package because it's carbon dioxide. It's a cryogenic. It's going to cool the fuel package. The other way that this one's going to work is it is going to eliminate all of the oxygen from the area of the fire. And that's really what's going to put it out. It's going to displace the oxygen. Use this one, and then open up some doors and windows to let some air in here, because it's going to be a ton of carbon dioxide. Very similar as far as use from there. So now pull the pin, aim, squeeze, sweep, make sure it's out. You're probably going to have some flare up with this one. This one's probably going to have flare up. The main difference between this one and this one's super corrosive. This one will absolutely destroy something like a laser. It's going to rust out all the parts. It's going to have powder everywhere. It's going to be a nightmare. This one is what's called a clean agent. It's not going to leave a residue. It's not corrosive. It's not going to leave a residue. It's going to evaporate off as carbon dioxide, much like what we exhale, and it's going to go away. But it'll still suppress the fire. This one's going to be mounted next to the laser, correct? And then the other extinguishers are going to be mounted wood shop, metal shop, and then the 2 doors here where they're at existing. Okay. If you don't feel comfortable using these, get out and call 911. That's the best thing you can do. Close the door behind you. So we have pass for the fire extinguishers. We have race for what to do in a fire. The R stands for rescue, which means if there's anybody else in the building, make sure that they're getting out of the building if you see a fire. Alarm, call 911. A for alarm, call 911. C is contain, close the doors. If there's a fire in a shop, in this room here, in that room there, just closing the door, even if it's not a fire door, just closing that door chokes off the oxygen to the fire and will help to keep it a very small fire for us to come in and put out if you don't feel comfortable with it. So close the doors behind you. And then E is extinguisher evacuate. So E is where you would grab the fire extinguisher or get out of the building and wait for the fire department. So one of the requirements of Firewatch is fire extinguisher training, and that's why I'm here tonight, is delivering fire extinguisher training. So any hot work requires a 30-minute fire watch. So what that means is you guys do your hot work, you do the grinding, you do the welding, you do the cutting, you do the laser, you do the whatever the hot work is, you have to stand by for 30 minutes after the last completion of it, after the very end of it, stand by for 30 minutes and just clean up your station, take your time, put your tools away, but you're looking for signs of fire. You're looking for smoldering, you're looking for smoke generation, you're looking for flames, obviously, hopefully you're looking for flames. Any of that, because it's statistically probable that that's going to happen within 30 minutes of the end of hot work. So after that 30 minutes, the probability drops way off, and it's okay. But a 30-minute minimum fire watch. Anybody that's been through the extinguisher training can do a fire watch, but it has to be done after every hot work. Sure. So what we talked about was developing a plan to, on a monthly basis or a weekly basis, to get rid of the dust accumulation. So most of the dust is going to be drawn in through the cyclone system and the bag system. You're still going to have some residual dust that builds up on the walls, on the equipment, on things like that. Just policing that and making sure that there's not a huge accumulation of dust is going to go a long way. So making sure that cyclone system's running, making sure that bag system's running every time. Some of the dangers with dust is not just fire, but explosions. So dust explosions are just tremendously dangerous, and it doesn't have to be a huge amount of dust in the air. A small amount of dust will do it as well. So those systems are there for a reason. Just make sure that they're operating when you're using stuff, and that's key. So the recommendation I talked about was kind of just doing a blowdown. Like most shops will do a blowdown, and they'll blow all the dust off the walls, get everything on the floor, get it all cleaned up as best as possible.